about color stories and base layers. So before you can add any shading, just like with the pear, we need to establish the base layers, which are color layers of flat color for each element of your illustration. So if you look here, my photo is still here but turned off. Okay, and doesn't he look strange with just colored in eyes? Let's zoom in for fun. Interesting. So I'm going to turn off that photo knowing I'm going to use it later for shading. Now, when we are doing base layers, you want to think about your color story. So before you even start coloring in anything like this, we need to pick out what are the dominant colors you want to use in this work. For instance, this color story is very cool blues, purples, hot pink, aqua, kind of light blues, and then neutrals, cool neutrals for the hair and skin. I wanted to stay in a similar story, so I found a palette of very subdued, cool greens and then very subdued but warm purples and pinks. And then I also picked out some yellows uh, just for contrast. So when you're thinking about your story color, you got to think about your character and what colors will best fit their personality and role. My character is a sage, so they're very thoughtful, very wise, introspective. And so I felt that subdued colors and then along with those warm colors would kind of capture that quiet nature of their personality. So come over to Pinterest and all you're going to do is search for color palettes, and then you will select and drag and drop your color palettes to your folder on the desktop. And then from there, you'll just take them and drag and drop them and arrange them along the bottom or top of your illustration. Make sure you name them. So I'm naming this one CR. And then make sure your layers are kind of so that all your color palettes are away from your other layers so they don't get in the way. So for instance, my color references are all up here, CR. This one needs to be named. And remember, I will check your layers next week for points, making sure they are correct and labeled. So once you have your color references, it's time to do your base layers. Right now, I have most of my base layers or all of them turned on. For each layer, you're going to select colors from your color story, except for your skin tone. For your skin tone, you're going to want to turn on this photo and find the most neutral kind of mid-tone skin layer and with your picker tool, and that's what you're going to use to paint the base layer of the skin. The reason being is we want to stay true and honor people's skin tones, and then build the base story with the rest of the colors, or sorry, build the color story with the rest of the colors that you'll add to the other base layers. So here you can see I've colored in the skin tone, and then I picked up one of these kind of softer pinkish reds, this one right here, for the lips. And recognize that the colors will change slightly when they are against other colors. Then I went to the hair. So there's the hair. And so if it's a different color, it's going to get its own layer, or if it's a separate part of the drawing. So we're going to go to eyebrows. And if you notice, something like the eyebrows is under my drawing layer, but then the eyes, I didn't want those lines to show through because here you can see there's no outlines really, and I wanted to put all the base layers of the eyes above the outlines for shading later. So there's the iris over the drawing layer, the pupil, and the eye line. Now obviously this is not done and I still have a lot of work to do, but this is how we paint our base layers, making sure that each area has its own layer. Skin gets a layer, lips, the different parts of the eyes, even the hat. The inside of the hat is a different color, so it got a different layer. then the top of the hat here. And make sure your layers are in the correct order so that they are either below or on top of each other as you paint, thinking about how the shading will work and where you want those outlines to show and where you might later be covering them up. When I look at mine, I know I'm going to get rid of a lot of these outlines, but for putting down my initial painting, my base layers, and my initial shading, I really rely on those lines to get the shading correct, and I need to see them for now. I hope this was helpful. Remember, keep your layers organized and labeled, and make sure you're always painting on the correct layer.